go. Hard. It's the hardest joint he ever came out with, in my opinion. Yeah. So the Weeknd. Go tell your friends about it. I love them. We are not the same. I am too reckless. I hear you, bruh. I'm like that a little bit. All right. So I wasn't expecting this poll to actually get out there in terms of like the sheer amount of participation. A lot of people really actually gave their opinion, and I think it's actually fascinating. In fact, I'm gonna check and see where I'm at with that poll. A lot of responses to that shit. Wasn't expecting that at all. So, what do I think of The Weeknd and Frank Ocean? Ultimately, The Weeknd won that poll with 223 votes. That's a lot of votes, man. I don't even think I've gotten that many votes on a rap on a rap question. So The Weeknd won by 52%. Wow, well, 52 to 48, Frank Ocean. Now, what do I think about The Weeknd? You know, I gotta be honest with you. I'm not a Weeknd fan. I never really liked The Weeknd. I think this is my favorite of his joints. This is the one where I heard it and I went, oh, okay. But I remember when The Weeknd came out because, correct me if I'm not mistaken, but he came out after Frank Ocean, right? I'm much more of a Frank Ocean fan. When Frank Ocean came out, I was a big fan. That Nostalgia Ultra floored me. Like, I was like, oh, this thing is gonna save R&B, like, you know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not really an R&B guy, but just what he was doing, my favorite songs on there, I'll get to in a second, you know. So I was really a big fan. Just someone that finally was bringing some soul back into the singing shit. And then The Weeknd comes and he's like, I'm doing drugs. I was just like, oh my god, this is pop. It just felt like an extension of what Drake was already doing, but that sort of cold Toronto sound, like, but you know, in a druggy and coke kind of way, but singing. And I was like, this is pop. And people go, no, this is some real expression. I was like, this is pop. It was very like orchestrated. Now, to be fair, I think it was pretty decent pop. Right? But for me, I don't really listen to pop music like that, so I didn't really feel like the sincerity was there. And it did feel a little ham-fisted at times, you know? So, that was just my opinion. Never was a big Weeknd fan. I liked The Morning, that song. That was cool, you know? Decent song. I also really liked this one, and I think that's kind of where it ends for me when it comes to The Weeknd. I think that's kind of my everything else. Oh, I like The Fall because Clams, like the Clams version of The Fall. I like that beat, but I don't think I've ever really heard the song and really taken in the song like that. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, The Weeknd's not really someone that I care for. But again, this is just my opinion. Am I surprised at where Weeknd went in terms of becoming more and more pop? No, because I think that was always his trajectory, in my honest opinion. I saw it back then, and I think it's pretty obvious, you know? But to The Weeknd's credit, I think that that was the trajectory that he was going, and he sustained that, and that's good. Oh, I Can't Feel My Face is okay. That's okay. Like, again, if it comes out somewhere, I'll dance to it, I guess. But I mean, I'm not playing that on my own. But again, that's what you promised. You promised, hey, I'm going to be a pop artist. I'm going to be, you know, maybe to a certain degree, OG Weeknd fans can be a little bit disappointed because his sound was a little bit more original in a sense, you know, compared to what people were doing in the pop lane. Now, like I'm saying, it wasn't super original to me because I felt like Drake was already doing that cold shit, whatever. But I can understand in the pop realm, maybe it was a little bit different. So maybe some Weeknd fans will go, man, he's not as like, you know, coked out with the vibes. But again, he was a coked out Michael Jackson, you know, back then. So it's not like he's just maybe less coked out, and then he references coke, you know, lyrically as opposed to soundscape wise. But I saw it coming. So this is me casting my vote in the Frank Ocean vote for sure. And the song that really did it for me was this record, man. This is the one that really, really fucking did it for me. Yeah, man. Strawberry Swing. I heard that shit and I was like, oh yeah, this is the guy. This nigga's on something other. He's another tip. Actually, the first song I heard from Frank Ocean was "Swim Good" because that was the single. I remember when that dropped, and I was like, "Oh, I like this. This is pretty good." And then I decided to check out the tape, and as soon as this came in, I was like, "Oh, this is the guy, man." Strawberry Swing is nuts. I think it's better than the Coldplay version. In fact, to the point where I think Coldplay probably got offended. But it's better. You know, it's there's more heart in Frank Ocean's version, even though it does take the chorus from the Coldplay version as well, right, towards the end, which I thought was a brilliant addition, right? So just a mix of those two things. But yeah, this to me was when I was like, yeah, Frank is that guy. There was this song, obviously. We All Try was the other one. This was ridiculous, man. There was a bunch of them, man. It was like Swim Good, We All Try, Songs for Women, Strawberry Swing. Those are like my top 4 Frank Ocean songs, period. All on the same tape. And I fucking loved them. I was playing the shit out of them for years. I've done a video about Frank Ocean being a subsequent disappointment. And it's interesting to see these things in hindsight because, again, when someone comes out the gate so raw and like beautiful with it, there is that pressure almost to dumb themselves down. And I don't think that Frank Ocean has lived up to the direction that he promised. To me, he was like a funky R&B dude, you know, like you'll notice his beats had that, you know, they had that bounce, that sort of hip-hop-ish bounce, but in a cool way. And I don't think his music just got less and less away from that, which again is like frustrating because it's like you're promising one thing and we're huge fans of that thing, and then you just go into this sort of abstract, pitchforky type of vibe. And yeah, those people will latch onto you, and I'm sure they'll, you know, get you some money and some press, but they're not going to listen to you in the long run, right? And then you're left cold in these streets. Whereas if you sustain what makes you dope to your actual listeners, even though your actual listeners might not have as much bread or you know, be as plugged in, over time you're going to get the casuals anyway. So just stick true to what you do, and then by the time you get the casuals, you already have such a great foundation that it doesn't matter if the casuals leave. You're still that guy. And I think that's the problem I have with Frank Ocean, is that like Nostalgia Ultra, in my opinion, is by far his best shit. The moment he started doing Thinking About You, that's when I noticed a shift and I was like, I don't know about this. And then that Channel Orange shit was never a fan. Blonde, I don't even think I listened to Blonde more than once, ever. I think I skimmed Blonde and I was like, this is not it. So again, you know, I don't like when these artists, there's like this, they just change. It's like almost like they don't really have a core to who they are, right? Again, like if you want to be a legend, the legends have a core. Mariah Carey, like if you really love these artists and you really you want to be like them, you have to look at what they did. They have a core. They don't just switch it up. They don't know. It's all of a sudden, you know, Mariah Carey is out here with a guitar, you know, or popping Molly or whatever. That's just not what she's going to do, right? Like, you gotta understand, like, these people that are legends, they're legends because they love music and they have something to say and they have something at their core. They know who they are, right? And they don't switch that shit up. And by and large, they probably could have. You know what I'm saying? You don't think that Jay and Nas and them could have sold out like a long time ago? Nah, they stuck to their guns. They might be selling out now, but that's fine. It's like 30 years later, right? But at least for those first 10 to 20 years, it was just like real ass music from them. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, much love to y'all. I appreciate y'all always watching my stuff, of course. This is just one guy's opinion, right? Just a vlog. But yeah, Frank Ocean for me. Much deeper, I think, much more personal with the music. Better lyrics, obviously. I love the beats more on Nostalgia Ultra than House of Balloons. House of Balloons was too cold for me, you know. The Morning, like I said, I might have mentioned that, like that was a decent song, but it's just not me, right? Like I'm more of the upbeat, fun, you know, like I like hard shit obviously, but I like that hard, heavy shit that's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, it's fun to me, you know? And I just found like the Weeknd shit was way too moody and just kind of cold, and It's just me. It's not me. You know what I'm saying? But again, to each his or her own. You know what I mean? Peace.